If you're 50 and over, I'm sure you've had a few breakups in your years, at least a few. I know I have. And whether that's from a job, a relationship with a significant other, it could be even a family member or a best friend. No matter the situation, it still can feel equally traumatic. And it can feel like a grief because no matter our age, we all go through these situationships. But the process of what we do afterwards can make all the difference in the speed in which we recover. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I'm going to give you 5 ways to move on from a breakup that have helped me and many others. The first one I'm going to tell you, give it some time. Allow yourself to go through the grieving process and release the tension that your body feels. Now, whether that's by crying, praying, or meditating, I mean, everybody has their way of release. I don't know if you've seen that Instagram video of this therapy group that women are taken to this forest. And in the forest, they are allowed to just release everything, release all their aggression or their anger, their sadness, etc., whatever it may be. But they either just scream at the top of their lungs or they take an axe and they start hacking tree stumps. And I mean, it's really wild because all of them are doing something different. It kind of looks hilarious, but the point is to let out those emotions rather than keep them bottled up inside. The second thing is journaling. Now, for me, writing things down have always been the best type of therapy. There's such a relief in feeling that everything's out of your mind and on a piece of paper. And it's just so therapeutic, that hand to writing action, even more so than typing something on a keyboard, at least for me. And the things I write, most times I may not even ever review it. But even if I do, it's usually maybe years later. But it still served its purpose at that time, at that moment when I needed to get it out. It becomes like a Q&A session with God for me, where I may rhetorically ask a question, and then as I'm writing down the question, I receive the answer, and I write that down as well. It's something I look forward to at the end of my day when I'm in my bed and I have my journal out, take my pen. It always has to be a pen, and I just start moving my hand and writing whatever words come to my mind. It could be random words. It doesn't even have to be a full sentence, but I just start randomly writing. And in my mind, I go to that place in my mind where I'm communing with God in prayer when I'm writing in my journal. Speaking of being in prayer, that's number 3, say a prayer. And that's a huge one for me as well, because if I feel that no one else understands what I'm going through, I always know that God does. And when I have something on my heart that I just don't really want to tell anyone else about, I know I can always talk to God about it. And talking with Him always fills me with so much peace and clarity. And even if I don't always get the answer immediately, I always feel better after having talked with God about whatever it is. So I highly recommend to have a good prayer life so that you can have a relationship with God to turn to when you need to have somebody to talk to. And number 4, there's meditation. Now, I know there are a lot of ways to meditate. Some where you concentrate on your breathing. There are chanting meditations. I do, when I want a really quick relaxation, I do the 5-5-5, when you inhale through your nose for 5 seconds, and then you hold it for 5 seconds, and then breathe out through your nose for 5 seconds. And I do that usually in reps of 4 or 5. Some people believe in chanting with yoga, or just yoga as their form of meditation. Like I said, everybody has something different. And something I like to do is TM. I found out about it when I was in college about 25 years ago, and I'm sitting there and a friend of mine said, "Oh my gosh, I just learned about this new technique and you have to be trained on it, but I feel like a new person, like I have no worries, I feel rejuvenated." And I was like, oh, what is it? Because at the time, I was feeling very stressed out. So when she told me about it, I immediately inquired about it myself, and I began the training for it. I had stopped doing it as frequently in the last few years because I just forgot about it, actually. I got out of the habit, became consumed in what I was going through and the stress that I was experiencing with the relationship that I had. And then, I said, oh, what about my meditation, my TM meditation? And I started doing that. And at the time, my anxiety levels were so high. I would wake up in the morning with heart palpitations. It was really bad. But when I got back into meditation, they just disappeared. They finally went away. And I think it's very important for women especially to do meditation, because a lot of studies show that we just have more stress than men. Our stress is usually multi-layered, whereas men may be stressed out from just one thing. Sorry, dudes, but it's not my words, it's the research. But, women are usually stressed about their husband's jobs or their guy's jobs or their partner, whoever it may be, or their job, their stuff around the house and everything, you name it. They don't tend to compartmentalize things, and they just take it all in as one big stress ball. The even bigger thing that made me get back into it, I realized, not realized, but I learned after going to the doctor not too long ago. I found out that I had a moderate risk for a heart attack. I was like, how could that possibly be? I've been eating right. I wasn't exercising as much, but I was still exercising. And people tend to think, oh, you're not heavy, so, how could that be? And I think that I have an genetic predisposition for it, because, different people in my family have had heart attacks. And so I think there are just some gene indicators there, some markers. But in any case, that's what the doctor told me after having a complete workup, and I knew that something had to change. So after I found out that, I knew I had to make that change for good. I knew that transcendental meditation, that's what it's called, it has so many benefits. It reduces anxiety, reduces heart attacks, stroke risks, and really the list just goes on. But I'll put a link to it in the description box so you guys can check it out if you're interested. I'm telling you, it really helps. I love it because I feel the difference, and that's what's important. And then the fifth way to help you to get over a breakup is to give thanks. Some people keep a gratitude journal, or they start their day with maybe 10 things that they're grateful for. I mean, whatever the reason was for the breakup, or why you left your job, why you left that person, give thanks. Because I'm sure that you learned at least something significant, even though you don't realize it at the time, but when you look back on it, you realize that you actually learned something from that relationship, no matter what it was, no matter how small it was or how insignificant you think it was at the time. I can guarantee you learned something. So remember to give thanks for it, and for yourself, for allowing yourself to go through that journey. Because remember, forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person. And you don't have to be in front of that person to say, I forgive you, or to have forgiveness. You just need to feel it within yourself. That's how you can move forward. Because say, what if you had been in an abusive relationship? You might not want to face that person ever again. And you know what? You don't have to. Nobody can make you. But for you to truly be able to move on, you just have to forgive. Because that abuse in the first place was never about you. It's something that other person had going on with them. Whether it was something in their childhood or something that they were going through in their life, it was never about you. That's something they have to work on and get healed from. And you just happen to be the one who got stuck in the snare. But you have to be concerned with your own healing and your own growth. And in order to do that, you have to forgive. The longer you wait, the more damage it does to you. Not just emotionally, but physically also. And I know that's probably part of the reason why I had such stress, because I was holding a lot of things inside. I didn't have that forgiveness. There's a lot of research about unforgiveness, that it can cause chronic anger, which puts your body into that fight or flight mode, and that can lead to changes in your heart rate or your blood pressure and your immune system. It can weaken it. So unforgiveness can also make it harder for your body to heal. So I know that was a long, drawn out, more than you wanted to hear story, but just forgive. Keep a gratitude journal and be thankful. And the last one I'm going to give you is a bonus. And that one is seek understanding. Not from the other person's point of view, because trying to figure out what's going on in somebody else's head or why they did what they did, that's like a rabbit hole and years of therapy. You're not trying to get into their headspace. You're just trying to heal yourself. So whatever you think was going on with them, just leave it there. Just think of you in this moment for your healing, because whatever they're thinking is none of your business. You can only fix yourself. So figure out why you allowed yourself to get into this type of relationship to begin with. Why did you stay at that job so long, knowing how miserable you were? Was it your bills? It couldn't have been. It couldn't be just bills, because bills don't make you stay somewhere. It's something else deeper than that. It's something that you could not pause to say, you know what? Yeah, I have all these bills, but there's another way around this that I can try to figure out. And there always is, believe me, there always is. Because being in the grave from a heart attack, from a job that's not worth it, no, we're not going to do that. Figure out what your attachment style is to make you stay in those situations. There's something called the IKEA effect. It's where we pick up in a relationship where we left off in childhood, as far as not getting what we needed. So if you figure out what you're missing from childhood, that can help you to understand why you get into these situationships in relationships, whether it's a job or whatever it may be. What you want to do is try to figure out why you chose that situation in the first place. And yes, you chose it. You settled for it. But now you have to figure out why. Why did you stay there so long when you knew you should have gotten out? A very helpful resource I found has been pretty enlightening, has been a book my therapist actually told me about. It's called Getting the Love You Want. And it talks about this in very great detail. So I recommend checking that out, and I'll leave a link to that as well in the description box. So don't jump back on the bandwagon to be with someone else, to be in another job just for the money, before you figure out what it is that keeps you in these situations. Because otherwise you're going to keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. And then at that point, you're taking along the stuff that you did not heal from, like a trunk, a heavy trunk. You're taking it around and you're spreading that toxicity. I'm sure you've heard of the phrase, hurt people hurt people. Well, it's very true. Unless you heal and move on from your past, you will always bring it like a heavy suitcase into your future. And the thing is, if you don't do these steps to begin to heal, you could very well feel like, hey, you know what? I'm over it. I'm good. Until you get into that next job or you meet someone else and then get deep into it and receive those same triggers, and then you play out the same movie with the next person. And then you start to think, wow, I keep picking the same jobs, or I keep picking the same types of people, when really the common denominator is you. So either way, you have some inner work to do. And now for the bonus on top of the bonus. Celebrate who you are. Celebrate who God created in you. You're here for a purpose. Focus on that and pursue that. You're a child of God. You are a king. You are a queen here on this earth. And that will not only keep you directed on your purposed path, but give your life meaning, which will satisfy you, let me tell you, better than anything or anyone else ever could. Talk to you soon.